boys and girls, and all of God's children. Welcome to the Church School Neighborhood. I'm Sister Angie Spears, the excited South District Church School Superintendent, and my presiding elder is the Reverend Janet Jenkins Sturdivant of the South District of the Philadelphia Annual Conference. Again, we welcome you today, and I also get to serve as the First District Church School Assistant Superintendent. What a wonderful lesson we have for you today. Our lesson today is titled, A Just God Remembers Everyone. And we're going to be in the book of Genesis, the 4th chapter, verses 1 through 16. And our special words for today, not forgotten. Not forgotten. I know that you'll take the time to read the entire lesson in your church school class, but I'm going to start a little bit close to our memory verse. What's happened is we have Abraham, who is married to Sarah. They have a son named Isaac. And then there's Hagar, who has a son named Ishmael. And Sarah becomes very jealous of Hagar and Ishmael. And she tells Abraham they have to leave. She doesn't want them anywhere nearby. And so he casts them out. And that means that they just go out. They have, some things to take with, but not much. And when they get out, let's say in the desert, Hagar starts thinking, we're going to die. We're just going to die. And the boy is very sad. And it's God who hears the boy crying. Let's go to our memory verse. We're in Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. And God heard the voice of the boy Ishmael, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, What troubles you, Hagar? Do not be afraid, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. And then in verse 18, Come, lift up the boy and hold him fast with your hand, for I will make a great nation of him. God is giving a promise to Hagar that he's not forgotten the boy, and he's going to make a great nation of him. So that means that boy, he's not going to die. He's going to live, and there's going to be generations and generations and generations to follow him because God has not forgotten him. What a wonderful lesson. I know you're going to enjoy reading that full lesson in your church school class. When I talked to Buttercup and Patches about the lesson and our key words, not forgotten, they certainly understood by the examples that they gave. Buttercup, why don't you begin? Buttercup says that, I believe it was about 2 years ago, they went on a field trip to an amusement park. And when it was time to leave, Daisy and her seatmate on the bus, they went to the bathroom before coming to the bus. And so the bus is getting ready to pull off. And the bus driver says, okay, everybody, check and make sure that your partner, your seatmate is there before we pull off. Well, because they were both gone, neither could say my partner's gone. But it was Buttercup who looked over and saw that his sister was missing, so he raised his hand and said, my sister Daisy and her friend, they're not back yet. Buttercup had not forgotten about his sister. Excellent, Buttercup. Patches, what is your example? Patches was working on a scouting project after school, and that meant that he couldn't take the bus home, and he told his dad in advance. He says, Dad, don't forget to pick me up. And he told him what time and where he'd be standing. Well, the project was over a little bit sooner, and Patches is waiting, and some of the other parents, they were just waiting there in the parking lot, and the kids started leaving, and Patches started worrying. But guess what? Right at the time he had asked his dad to pick him up, his dad pulls into the parking lot and picks up Patches. The dad had not forgotten about Patches. And so I hope you'll just appreciate this lesson. God does not forget about us. He loves us. and he takes care of us, and he does not forget about us. Let's go to our memory verse. It's going to be Genesis 21, verse 17, and just the second part of that. What troubles you, Hagar? Do not be afraid, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Can you do that with us? What troubles you, Hagar? Do not be, for has heard the voice of the where he is. Were you able to fill that out with us? What troubles you, Hagar? Do not be afraid, for God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. And that's Genesis chapter 21, verse 17. Again, it's a beautiful, beautiful lesson that shows that God remembers us. He is a just God, and he remembers everyone. We trust that you'll join us on next week. Next week, our lesson is coming from the book of Exodus, the 23rd chapter, verses 1 through 12. And the title of the lesson is, A Just God Says, Remember Others. Have a wonderful week. Be blessed. God bless you. Bye-bye.